Hello everyone, I have a match on the map Lift and the game type is Execution, and for this video I'm going to just go over some tips and tricks and some things to think about if you're playing a man down. So I'll just assume you'd be in a 4v5 for this video, although you could be playing a 3v5, etc. In the match that you're watching, we're actually going to go a man down right after this first round here. We have a rough start, but don't be fooled. This ends up being a pretty crazy gameplay. I put out some really good numbers and it goes to a round 9. So if you don't have it in you to watch the whole video, I highly recommend you just skip to round 9 if you want to see a very intense round. But definitely the whole match was a tough one and a fun one to watch, and hopefully it'll exemplify some of the things I'm going to talk about. Now, the first thing when it comes to playing a man down in this game type is making sure that you have expectations that are realistic. You shouldn't be expecting to win very often when you're a man down. This is particularly true when you're playing an objective game type like King of the Hill or Escalation, because those are game modes where it literally, I think it can only benefit you from having an extra person who's playing the objective, since it's not detrimental for them to die. You know, when they have the potential to score points of the hill with the hills or pick up kills. Whereas something like Execution and Team Deathmatch, you have a pool of lives. It can be a little bit easier to get away with having a man down, and that's why you'll see in the game play that you're watching that, you know, my team and myself have a fairly good shot here, and it does help that the people I'm playing with are friends and we're in a party and communicating. But the bottom line is, when it comes to expectations, especially for objective game types, don't be expecting to win when you're man down. So don't get frustrated, you know, if you're losing. But at the same time, you can kind of look at it as a challenge, because it's going to require you to put in a lot more effort and work to do well or even get the win. And that's something that I like. You know, I always like a good challenge. Conversely, when the other team is a man down, you know, I actually get kind of frustrated because it can be quite boring when you're playing a team that's outnumbered. So before I get into the tips and tricks, I just wanted to highlight how important it is to set expectations. You know, maybe stay in the match, challenge yourself, but don't be frustrated if you don't win. And quite frankly, you know, just set a goal for yourself, like going positive or you know, scoring a lot of points. I think that would be helpful when you're a man down. So the first tip that I want to go over has to do with understanding gears as a numbers game, especially when you start off the match. So it's necessarily true that if you're a man down, somewhere off the start of the match, when your team has their opening rush, there's going to be somewhere where you guys are outnumbered. So for instance, on this map you're watching, if we send 3 to Insins and 1 to the middle, and the other team has 5 enemy players, they're either going to outnumber us at Insins, or the middle, or where the try shot is on this map, depending on where they choose to send their numbers. But there's going to be somewhere that we're outnumbered just by virtue of them having more players. Now, it's useful to think about this as a tool, though, because just because you have 4 players, it doesn't mean that there's not a specific portion of the map, you know, where you can outnumber the other team. So put simply, if you put the majority of your resources, those being your teammates, on a particular part of the map and you claim that map, that's a portion of the map that will either give you access to a power weapon or where your team can set up to defend. And just to kind of give an example, in the match that you're seeing, oftentimes we're sending the majority of our players to Insins, and we're winning Insins, which is giving us that power weapon to work with. And that is just very useful, because when you are outnumbered, capitalizing on parts of the map control or power weapons is so important. And perhaps you're not going to win the power weapon or area that you want the most because the other team is just putting too many resources on it, but there are going to be parts of the map that are going to be open to you to claim if you put your numbers in the correct places. So for us here, it was 3 at Insins and 1 in the middle. And just to kind of illustrate how important this is, I just want to kind of give another example. So on a map like Foundation, where you have the boom shot on one side of the map and torque on the other side, let's assume that the team that has 5 players is putting a lot of them on boom shot and they're getting it every single time, and you're playing a man down. Well, if you and your teammates work together and claim torque bow, because you know that they're sending a lot at boomshot and you can at least outnumber them at torque bow, that at the very least is going to give you something to work with, i.e. a torque bow. So while you might not get that boomshot that you really wanted, at least you have something. And you know, doing this for whatever part of the map it is that you and your team choose to go for can be very powerful, because when you're outnumbered, sometimes really what can give you the edge or give you a fighting chance at the very least is having something to work with. So once again, in the context of the match you're watching, that would be the instant grenades, which are, you know, getting me a lot of kills actually to kind of help even out the odds of this match. The next tip I want to go over has to do with keeping your teammates alive. I think a lot of people have a bad habit of only looking out for themselves and trying to preserve their own life in this game. You know, you don't really think too much about your teammates, but I think it's true even more so than when it's a 5-on-5 that, you know, when you are outnumbered, if you're going to win the game, it's because of a combined effort from you and the players that are there. So it is so important to keep your teammates alive. They are your lifeline in these outnumbered situations. And I want you to notice in this gameplay that there are several attempts I make that are risky, where I try to save my teammates at the expense of perhaps power weapon ammo, as you're about to see here. And while sometimes you know, it doesn't connect, you'll notice like the second boom that I'm going to use, it does connect and I save my teammate's life, and that is so key to winning these matches. So I do want you to pay attention throughout this match, because there are other times where you know, I take risks with the weapons, not to get crazy kills, but to try to save my teammates, who I know are crucial for me closing out the matches. It's an all or nothing kind of approach, I think. So it is really important to keep teammates alive, and that's something that you should be focused on thinking about when you are playing in these outnumbered situations. I think another tip to keep in mind when you're playing these matches is to just really think about, you know, the situations that you're facing. And in a lot of cases, I would say that a lot of the times you're going to have to switch up what you're doing to keep your the enemy team surprised. But at the same time, you're also just going to have to focus on exploiting the kind of holes and weaknesses in the other team's gameplay. So for here, you'll notice in this match, I actually barely switch it up. I go to instance every single time, and that's because they've been giving it to me every single time, and that's a huge weakness that we were able to expose in their gameplay, and it allowed us to get so many kills. So I think it's important when you're playing to either think about, you know, what it is you could do differently if you keep dying and you know, you have these fruitless rounds, or if you know that a team is weak at one portion of the map, or if they're allowing you to get a certain power weapon every single time, keep pressing on that weakness. So that's definitely another important tip. And one of the last tips that I want to go over has to do with just how aggressive you're playing, and you know, the 1v1s that you may come across. So when it comes to aggression, I think a lot of players have this tendency to be a little bit more passive when they're outnumbered, which makes sense because you know you're outnumbered and it's going to be hard to push. But sometimes upping the you know, aggression can really help you push forward through rounds. I think that you have to be willing to take a lot more risks when you're outnumbered, precisely because you're already at a disadvantage. So, you know, be willing to be aggressive. And a lot of the times when I have 1v1 opportunities and our team is outnumbered in these 4v5 situations, I take them. And while it might not always be your best option to take the 1v1s in the sense that you have no real advantage, it might also be true that there's no real disadvantage and it's just going to come down to a straight up one-on-one. So I think it is important in those types of situations that you are willing to be aggressive and you are willing to give them a shot, and, you know, showing some aggression off the start to kind of show the other team that you can go toe-to-toe is really important. And obviously if you're playing respawn game types, just making sure that you're aggressive throughout the rounds is hugely important. So we're actually coming at the final round here, and things get real crazy. It looks like things are just utterly falling apart at the beginning here, which is going to just go to my last tip, which is pretty obvious and actually very broad, and that's just to keep calm, you know. Like I said, it's really important to set expectations and just push yourself to, you know, keep trying your best, because even though, you know, the odds are against you and it seems like you are going to lose if you just, you know, keep pushing and keep trying, there is that opportunity that you will pull through a man down, and at the very least, you'll get a much more challenging match than you otherwise would not have. So yeah, I think you know, just see these man down matches as an opportunity, but also know there's no formula, there's no real tips or tricks that you can use to win these sorts of matches, but there are things you can think about that can help you increase your odds of success when it comes to these types of situations. So now you'll see that this match is actually boiled down to a clutch opportunity, basically a 3v1, and I want you to realize how aggressive I'm being here because I know that I have a one-on-one here. So even though this guy has a sniper, you know, I push him as hard as I can, knowing that if I pick him off really quick, I have a chance of winning this and closing it out for my team. So I hope this video was helpful for those who have found themselves in these kinds of circumstances, and I hope that the gameplay was entertaining. If you have any other topics you'd like me to cover, feel free to let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to let you watch how this closes out. And yeah, I think this was a pretty great gameplay and one of the better ones I've had playing a man down. But don't get me wrong, more often than not, I lose matches when I'm playing a man down, as I'm sure most people do. So once again, I want to thank you for watching and take care.